open marriage or temporary separation. My ex-wife laid down an ultimatum. Either I agree to open up our marriage, or we'd be heading toward a separation, with divorce not far behind. She said she was bored stiff after 10 years of marriage, accusing me of getting too comfortable. It got so bad that she didn't even want to go on dates alone with me anymore. Whenever we went out, she insisted on bringing along her best friend and her best friend's boyfriend. I shouldn't have been shocked when I found out she was having threesomes with them. The way she acted around her best friend's boyfriend always rubbed me the wrong way. She'd touch him and laugh at his jokes like they were the funniest things she'd ever heard. But honestly, the guy wasn't even remotely funny. We have a 17-year-old son together. We had him back in high school during our senior year. We didn't get married right away, though. For the first 7 years of our son's life, we stayed unmarried. We first moved into her parents' place when our son was born. I managed to land a great job as a CAD operator at a company that made wood-building components. The CAD classes I took in high school helped me secure that position, and it didn't hurt that my dad's friend worked there too. But then my girlfriend at the time, who is now my ex-wife, let's call her Stephanie, got caught chatting with some guy on MySpace. I knew something was up when she dropped me from her top 5 friends and replaced me with some other dude. I managed to get into her account, and sure enough, they were planning to meet up at the mall. They hadn't met yet, but it was still cheating in my book. She even told the guy she'd give him a blowjob in a bathroom stall, bragging that it was her favorite thing to do. I lost it and told her to move back in with her mom. She took our son and did just that. We both started dating other people, but I stayed involved in my son's life. I made sure to give her money every 2 weeks for our son, even though I wasn't on child support. Things were running smoothly. I enrolled in a 2-year program at the local community college and got my associate's degree, which led to a nice pay bump. Figuring it'd be worth it, I decided to go for a bachelor's in architecture. And it was. Thanks to grants and scholarships, school was free for me. I busted my tail off, juggling work as a cook at night and as a bouncer on weekends. I ended up working for an architectural firm and moved up to a CAD manager position. By then, I was making good money. I had about $6,000 in student loans, but I paid them off within the first year after graduation. When my son turned 7, we were at his birthday party, and he made a wish before blowing out his candles. The room went quiet, and he wished that his mom and I would live together, so we could be a family. My son's tears made me cry, and I noticed that Stephanie was crying too. That night, I went home with them, and Stephanie and I slept together for the first time since she moved out. She told me how proud she was of me and apologized for her past mistakes. We both admitted we were young and stupid back then. Now, to be completely transparent, I never asked another woman for a bathroom stall blowjob. But there was a time before I got my first CAD job when I flirted with a coworker. I was working at a grocery store, and this girl had a crush on me. She told me a few times. One evening, we both agreed to stay late to help with stocking after the manager left for a bit. We ended up in the bathroom, and she kissed me. I pulled away and told her I couldn't do it because I loved my family. She wouldn't let me leave, stripped down, and took a picture while leaning against me. You can see in the picture that I was uncomfortable and upset, which helped Stephanie believe my story. I shouldn't have been in that situation, but that's how it went down. This girl had Stephanie's number because she was friends with one of Stephanie's friends. Stephanie got the picture, and we argued about it for weeks. Eventually, she came around and believed me, although she'd still bring it up now and then. Slowly, she started to move past it. So it was clear neither of us was flawless. That night, after my son's birthday party, we decided to give our relationship another shot. Right there in her bedroom, I proposed to her, even though I didn't have a ring. Stephanie said yes and told me I didn't need to get her a ring at all. Instead, we got matching tattoos on our ring fingers. Mine has her initials and hers has mine. We got married quickly at the courthouse, just the 3 of us, Stephanie, our son, and me. For our honeymoon, we took a trip to Orlando and brought our son along, a whole week of pure fun. I was genuinely happy, feeling like life was finally coming together. Stephanie got a job at the local high school working in the cafeteria and as an assistant volleyball coach. Things were looking up. I moved us into a 3-bedroom house. I took care of the bigger bills while Stephanie handled groceries and a few smaller expenses. We had no complaints, and everything seemed to be working out perfectly. I never doubted Stephanie's loyalty. But as the years went by, things started to decline. Our sex life dwindled, and date nights became rare. Stephanie seemed more interested in spending time with her best friend Kim outside of our home. Initially, Kim would come over to our place, sometimes bringing a new boyfriend along. These guys never seemed to stick around for long. Kim had 4 kids with 3 different fathers. I'd known Kim since high school, just like I knew Stephanie. But after high school, Kim had really loosened up. At least that's what we used to say. She was always with a different guy, and having so many baby daddies spoke volumes about her. Kim might seem like a great person when you first meet her, but once you get to know her, you realize she loves to drink. At any gathering or party, she always wants to be the center of attention, especially if there are men around. She wears tight clothes and loves to twerk right in the middle of the dance floor or even in someone's living room, making sure all the guys are watching. She just didn't care. She'd get so drunk that sometimes she'd even start taking off her clothes. She was wild. So naturally, whenever Stephanie wanted to go out with Kim, it bothered me a bit. I wasn't too thrilled about Stephanie going to some seedy little club with Kim, just because I knew the kind of person Kim was. But here's the thing about Stephanie. She doesn't drink alcohol, and that gave me a bit of comfort. There were a couple of times, though, when I decided to show up at a club they were supposed to be at without them knowing. To this day, Stephanie has no clue I did this, but both times I did, they were just sitting there, with Kim drinking, and either twerking on the dance floor or near their table, with random guys dancing behind her. But I'll give Stephanie credit. She just sat there the whole time, sipping her sparkling water or Sprite. Kim might have been wild, but Stephanie never joined in the dancing or acted like she was out to catch someone's attention. After seeing that the second time, I felt a lot more at ease about her going out. I started to think, well, maybe this is just how marriage is. Sometimes we get bored with each other, but that spark will come back eventually. Things just kept going downhill. Then she dropped the bomb and demanded that we open up our marriage. When my son turned 16, he wanted to throw a party at a venue, which was totally doable, so I made it happen. The place was packed. Family, friends, and of course, Kim with her latest boyfriend. This guy didn't seem to mind that Kim would get all wild after a few drinks, dancing in a way that was way too provocative. At one point, I almost got into it with her boyfriend because I went out onto the dance floor and grabbed Kim, telling her to knock it off. The guy rushed over, shouting, "Don't ever grab my girl like that!" I told him, plain and simple, that if he wanted to walk out of here in one piece, he'd better back off. My brothers and cousins immediately came to my side, and that's when he backed down and started apologizing, saying, "You just don't grab my girl like that. It's not cool." But I wasn't having any of it. I didn't want her dancing like that in front of a bunch of teenage boys. Naturally, they were eating it up. Some of the boys even started throwing money at her, like she was putting on a show at a strip club. By the end of the night, Kim's boyfriend and I were cool again, dapping it up, and he kept saying sorry. I told him it was all good, no hard feelings. I even mentioned how long I've known Kim, saying she was almost like a sister to me, or maybe more like a cousin. About a week after that party, my ex-wife Stephanie sat me down to talk about how stale our relationship had become. She told me she was bored out of her mind and didn't think I'd ever change, laying all the blame on me. She said I'd gotten way too comfortable. Then, early one morning around 3 a.m., Stephanie woke me up saying she'd been up all night writing. I asked her, "Writing what?" And she told me she'd written something for me to read. I wasn't about to get up and read anything at that hour, so I told her no way and immediately fell back asleep. When I woke up, there was a letter on her pillow. I still have that letter, by the way, if you'd like to see it. True story. "Hello, husband. I didn't want to write this letter. I didn't want to say anything at all, because when you feel like the other person isn't listening or understanding you, what's the point? It feels like knocking on a door that's never going to open. And even when it does open, it just closes again. This letter is going to be tough for you to read because there are things in here that you're not going to want to hear, things I've never told you before. But before I get into all the stuff that's going to make you feel like everything's falling apart, I want you to know that these last nearly 8 years since we reconciled have been incredible, truly incredible. The travels we've had, our son being happy. I do love you. You're a good man and a wonderful father. But I think you've been lacking as a husband, and that's why I'm writing this letter, because I've been unhappy. I felt neglected, taken for granted, and overlooked. After our call last Friday, I cried hard, like really ugly cried. I didn't want to tell you what was wrong because I knew you wouldn't get it. And of course, you confirmed that when you asked, "Did I do something today?" And I had to answer, not today. It breaks my heart to know that you have no clue about how I'm feeling in this relationship. And what's even worse is that it seems like you don't care or even try to understand. And unfortunately, at this point in our relationship, the way you've been loving me just isn't enough anymore. Words alone aren't enough. I know that might be a common complaint from women in marriages or relationships, and I'm no different. There's a lesson in this for everyone. After that call on Friday, I started to wonder if I'd be happier with someone else, another man who doesn't question what I want when I say I'm bored, or would rather stay home than spend money on a trip abroad. What if I was with someone who had the means to actually travel the world with me, while paying a nanny to stay with our son? What if I was with a man who touched me and asked how I was feeling, not just as a prelude to sex? What if I was with someone who wanted to take me out to dinner every week, not because he necessarily wanted to, but because he knew it was important for our relationship? What if he prioritized us the way I prioritize us? What makes this so difficult is that we share a son. What infuriates me is that you're not even pretending to do these things for me. But what's worse is that you don't seem to understand that our son is being neglected too. He wanted us to be a family. You just work, come home to eat, sleep, and go about your business. You say you want this family to work, but you're not putting in the effort to make it happen. And what makes it work is you and me. How am I supposed to show up and be a loving wife when my so-called strong man is more interested in Elon's latest rocket or Rogan's latest podcast guest than in his wife? I know I'm starting to sound needy. I don't want to be needy. I don't want to make demands or feel desperate for love, but I'm not a robot and I'm not a man. I've seen enough pain in my life and not enough love. I can't just compartmentalize things like you do. I can't ignore my feelings or shove them deep down and pretend they don't exist. I'm not Arnold Schwarzenegger. When I met you, I felt love. I felt like you were there, really present, and your love was so healing. With you, I've experienced love like I never had before. I've healed on so many levels. Your love mended my abandoned, bruised, and cold heart. Yes, I did a lot of work on myself before we reconciled, but your love was like a balm that put everything back together. I know the solution to this issue is either a separation or an open marriage. I can't keep going like this. After reading the letter, I immediately tried to get in touch with Stephanie. She didn't greet me with a hello. Instead, she asked, "Did you even read the letter?" I told her, "Yeah, I did." "Where's all this coming from? I didn't know you felt like this." Her reply was, "Because you don't listen and you don't care about me." We talked for an hour and a half and finally agreed on an open marriage. I didn't have anyone in mind, and to be honest, I figured it was only a matter of time before we got divorced. In my mind, I thought I'd just wait until our son turned 18 and then go ahead with the divorce. Stephanie has a stepsister that she grew up with, and they're still close. I ended up confiding in her stepsister, Billie Jean, about the issues Stephanie and I were having. Billie Jean told me that it was wrong for me to be treated this way and that I didn't deserve it. She said that Stephanie never deserved me and that she knew I was only sticking around because of our son. Billie Jean pointed out that if it hadn't been for our son begging us to get back together on his 7th birthday, I probably would have never considered it. And I told her, "You're absolutely right. I wouldn't have gotten back with Stephanie. We were done, and I would have moved on with my life, just like I did before. But this was something our son wanted, and I just wanted to make his wish come true, which I did. I don't regret it. Even though I was cheated on and my wife continued to cheat on me, I don't regret anything. I found out she was cheating with her best friend and her best friend's boyfriend. But still, I don't regret a thing. I'm alive, healthy, my son loves me, and I've got a great career. I don't have any regrets. It's just the way life turned out." Billie Jean and I started texting a lot, and those texts eventually turned into sexual conversations. She told me she'd always been attracted to me. I can honestly say I never saw her in that way before, but of course I noticed she's very attractive even at our age. Billie Jean is gorgeous. So, let me tell you how I found out that Stephanie was sleeping with her best friend and her best friend's boyfriend. I went through her text messages. We both started snooping on each other. She caught me with Billie Jean. When I went through Stephanie's texts, I saw some pretty explicit conversations, and in those messages, they were admitting to all the things they were doing together. I even figured out Stephanie's passcode to her secret folder in her media files, and there were videos of them getting it on. She was doing everything, absolutely everything, with her best friend's boyfriend, and they were all just having a grand old time, loud music blaring in the background. And by the way, those videos were taken before Stephanie even asked for this open marriage. At the time, I didn't even confront her about it. Like I said, I was just waiting until our son turned 18 to go ahead with the divorce. So Stephanie decided to put a tracking device in my car. She was curious about where I was going and who I was seeing, and eventually she followed me to Billie Jean's house. Billie Jean and I were in the middle of getting it on in the living room when Stephanie kicked the door open. She went absolutely nuts, screaming, "With my sister? You're sleeping with my sister, Billie. How could you do this to me? He's my husband." I quickly threw my clothes back on and reminded Stephanie that she was the one who wanted an open marriage. She shot back, saying she'd never do something like this. That's when I told her that I knew she had been cheating on me. I saw everything on her phone. She'd been sleeping with her best friend and her best friend's boyfriend for a while now, even making porn videos. Stephanie sat there, calling me a liar, insisting she never slept with her best friend and that she wasn't into women and didn't sleep with her boyfriend either. I told her to pull out her phone. She started scrolling through it, acting all innocent, and I said, "Oh, let me see it." I went straight to the secret folder. She was too busy yelling at Billie Jean, and I pulled up the video and showed it to Billie Jean as well. Stephanie tried to snatch the phone from me. I said, "Who's that? That's not you? That's not you giving him head? That's not you letting Kim go down on you?" I must have made it all up, huh? She was so caught off guard. How else would I know about the videos if they weren't in her phone in that secret folder? I don't know if she tried to delete them and failed, but they were still there. She got quiet after that and then said, "We need to divorce. I will never stay with a man who sleeps with my sister." She pretended like I was the one who cheated and betrayed her when she'd been betraying me for so long. I agreed we needed to get a divorce. So I went to see a lawyer. Stephanie left the house for a couple of days. When she came back, she was begging me not to go through with the divorce, saying she wasn't going to see a lawyer and that we should work things out for the sake of our son. I told her absolutely not. We're done. I don't want to deal with you anymore. I'll always be here for my son, but I don't want anything to do with you. She sat there crying, telling me I was the love of her life and that we were meant to be together forever. "People make mistakes," she said. I replied, "You made one too many, and I was a fool for forgiving you. We're getting divorced, and that's exactly what I did. We had to sell our house and split the money from the sale. My son wasn't upset at all. I thought he'd be bummed out about it, but he was okay with it. He was older now and understood a lot more. I don't have to pay child support since we have 50/50 custody of our son. I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in a nice neighborhood with newer style apartments and all the amenities. And I'm happy here, man. I see my son often, and I avoid his mother as much as possible. I don't know if she's got some kind of poly situation going on with her best friend and the boyfriend, but that's on them, not my business. Look, man, a lot of mistakes were made. And right off the bat, having a child in high school, from the start, you set yourself up for a tough life. But you made it through, you got through, and you got lucky. A lot of people don't, But in a way, when you guys broke up, when she cheated on you on MySpace or whatever, when she cheated and you let her go, look at how hard you went. You were like, "You know what? Let me go to school," and you boosted your salary at work and thought, "Hey, maybe I should get a better education. Maybe that'll help." And it did. You landed a job at a firm, and you started working and doing really well for yourself. You made that other mistake by getting back with her. She saw you thriving. An ex never wants to see you thrive, even if you're the father of her child. She saw you doing well and thought, "I need to jump on that, even if it's going to drag him down." She came up with some lame excuse. "You're getting boring. You don't want to travel the world or whatever." So she started cheating on you and demanding an open relationship. You should have never gotten back with her, ever. That was just the wrong move. But hey, I know you know this. I want to thank you for sharing this story because there are other people probably going through the same thing, and someone listening who's in your shoes might have made the same mistakes you did, and they'll hear your story and think, "Okay, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not about to end up like that guy on the Story Hub channel. No way, Jose."